All right. Call our meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Gurecki, Washington,
Here.
Verkala, Swice,
Here.
Middleton,
Here.
Dapke,
Here.
Dusterhoff.
Here. All right, please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Do we have any public comments?
No.
No public comments for this portion of the meeting. All right. Presentation of the fund transfer resolution, please.
All right. So tonight we have the public hearing. The purpose for conducting a public hearing is obviously for our public an opportunity to express their views prior to the board taking action on the fund transfer tonight. The public hearing has been published and posted in accordance with section 17(2)A of the school code. Later on in the board meeting then, the board will be asked to approve 2 resolutions allowing for the transfer of funds from the Ed Fund. As was mentioned last month, this is a common practice for this Board of Education. And I'd like to thank everybody for being here tonight.
Okay. Then I need a motion to adjourn this portion of the meeting.
I'll make it.
Second.
Jake seconded.
Thank you.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Very good.
Okay.
All right. All right. Now I'm calling to order our regular meeting of May 18th, 2021. Roll call, please.
Washington,
Right here.
Gurecki, Verkala, Swice,
Here.
Middleton,
Here.
Dapke,
Here.
Dusterhoff.
Here. All right. We just did the pledge. Any additions to the agenda?
So,
Oh.
sorry, I just had asked Dr. Arnold, just kind of prior, there was an email that came through in regards to the vaccinations and Six Flag tickets. So if we can just add that, and we could just discuss.
Under new business, right?
Board discussion, new business, wherever you'd like
Wherever.
to add it, just so we don't forget.
Okay. Yeah, we'll put it down in board discussion items.
Perfect, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Any others? All right. Recognitions and celebrations. Recognition of our retiring staff.
Okay, if any of our retirees are on the call and would like to be seen, please raise your hand in this with the Zoom function, and we'll elevate you. There's somebody. We have Miss Dyer and any others. Therese, you should be coming up. Anyone else? Okay. So tonight's a big night. We have our annual recognition of retirees. What we do, there's Miss Dyer. Hi, Therese, how are you? Welcome. Therese, I'll give you a second. I'll introduce you and then give you an opportunity to speak or not. It's up to you.
All right.
Okay. And so I'll read through the retirees. They are in alphabetical order. A few of them have retired throughout the school year. And so we may or may not have mentioned that at a previous board meeting. The other thing we're really excited about is on June 4th, that's our last day of school. After the students leave, we have a cookout plan, which we want to invite the Board of Education to. And similar to the beginning of the 2019-20 school year. And And then after that, we'll meet in the Oak Prairie Gym and recognize all of our retirees and also our service awards. So staff who have worked for 20 years, 30 years, 10 years, things like that. So it's a fun day. But tonight is all about the retirees. First one we have, and there are proclamations. I won't read the entire proclamation, but I'll give some highlights. I did ask each retiree for any special things they wanted me to say. And so a few of them have some extra comments. So let's start with Karine Cirillo. And she did retire mid-year after over 18 years as an administrative assistant at Walsh School. She was also a substitute parapro prior to that. I asked all of the retirees for some favorite D92 memories. If you've ever been to Walsh at Halloween time, you would know that a driving force behind the beautiful, cool, fun, appropriately spooky stage is the office team. And Karine was instrumental in that. One of her memories was definitely decorating the stage for Halloween. A funny one that she had was, I don't know the story behind this, the hug while on a beach from a former student. So, oh, is there a hand?
Corinne's hand is up.
Oh, her hand's up. Oh, let's get Karine up there. Thank you.
Sure. I hate for her to miss her recognition.
Yes. Okay.
It's different than coming from your seat.
There
to the
she
table.
is.
Yes.
Karine, do you want to say something? Do you want to turn on your camera?
She's muted too.
No, let's unmute.
She's coming.
There she goes.
You have to turn up your volume.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to let me do it.
Okay, Karine, we can't hear you or see you. We'd love to hear about, there she is. Karine, are you
Can you
muted?
hear me too?
Yes.
It doesn't show that she's muted.
No, I can hear her.
You can hear
Yeah.
me?
Yes, I can hear her.
Do you need to turn your volume up, Tim?
Oh,
No, my volume's all the way up. I must have.
I can hear her.
I'm so excited to see all your faces. Haven't seen you in a while.
Does somebody want to turn up theirs, mine?
Turn yours up.
What is it?
Only one person, that's the problem. Only one person can have it up. Otherwise we have feedback.
Okay, Karine, try to say something again.
It's me, Tim.
There you
It's
go.
Corinne.
Okay, welcome. Well, I read a few things about you. Do you want to say a few words or at least give us some more info on the special hug on the beach from a former student?
Yes. You know, when I was subbing, I was tag teaming with Janet Dinello. We had kids in kindergarten and was half day at that time. So when she would, have her kid in, she would sub, vice versa. And at the beginning, we didn't understand what Pat and Judy were doing. We wanted to hug every kid and, they wanted them to sit straight, do this, do that. So it was a slow process, but we finally got it. And subbing in other buildings, we also see the end results of it too, where you're with a 3 and 4-year-old, what seems to be very firm direction is what they need at that time, because in the end, they're very successful. But years go by and I was down riding my bike on Lakeshore path there. And this mom stopped me and she recognized me and we're talking and her son came out of the water, Charlie, and he gave me a big hug because he remembered me. A sub, half time, a sub. But it made a difference in a child's life. And that's why I liked Walsh. I fought for that position a couple times because I am at will. So when they were thinking of moving one time, I said, I really hope a little bird comes to you and tells you a different option because I really want to stay in this building. We make a difference. We're the foundation. We greet those new parents who are nervous. We greet those new children who are nervous. And we hopefully get to each one of them and teach them to love to learn. And if we can do that by decorating the stage or, having assemblies or being silly with them and dressing up, that's all part of it. And I love that age. That was my age. That was my dream to work there in that building. I want to thank Tim and Teresa also for giving me good advice on retiring and support. Mid-year is not the usual way to go. There were different, reasons. And And one of them, though, it was a perfect time to bring in somebody, especially during a pandemic. It was slow. We can learn things slowly. I'm at her beck and call as things, in our schedule pop up. It's nice to teach hands-on instead of saying, here it all is, good luck. So I love Amy. She's very spirited and energetic, and she also has a passion to be in that building. So I know it's going to be a great journey for her too. And just another shout out and thank you to the tech team, because I loved working with them. Oak Prairie is another beast. And I believe Walsh is a beast too, in and of itself, with kindergarten. And I think working with Mary Beth with the new online registration, any of the new programs, really working with the tech team has been so easy. I compliment them immensely, as well as the district girls. That relationship we've had with Sandy and the other girls has always been good, always been healthy, and it's always to keep us moving forward in a positive direction. And there are so many other people. I mean, Kim and Jerry and Tony, everybody helps in the office. Just a big shout out to them, as well as the board, who constantly, I believe, think for each individual, not just teachers, but all of us, because we're all part of that team that wants everyone to move forward. A shout out to Doreen, because over the last year, she was instrumental in listening to us and realizing what we wanted, although maybe we weren't best at clarifying and describing what we wanted. I think she figured it all out and then told us what, was expected of us, and, worked with us, and it all worked out really good. So thank you, Doreen, for your extra effort on that. Other than that, I've been just very proud. I will say that I'm very proud to have been associated with District 92. And I rave about our district to anybody, that will listen, because I really do think we are going in the right direction. And we're a family. We fight like a family, and we love like a family. And in the end, I see great results. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Corinne.
Thank you, Corinne. And let's see, Mary Creek is up next. Like I said, these are alphabetical order. Mary, if you're on, feel free to raise your hand. What Mary had told me, I know Mary has 25 years in District 92 plus 9 years prior to that. So if you do your math, that gets you to 34 years in education. She's been a third grade teacher, a fourth grade teacher, and a LMC specialist. Mary had a couple memories, one working with Bill Barney, and she had fond memories. He was a principal at Reed previously, and fond memories of his Donald Duck impersonations. I won't try to imitate that. And Rick Mayer, prior superintendent, she has great memories of him riding the bus with third graders to see Polar Express and enjoying it, in her words, just like a kid. So, Mary, we thank you for all your years of service to D92. And Miss Dyer, hi, Therese, how are you? Therese has been in D92 for 18 years, 5 years prior to that in other districts, and for a total of 23 years in education. She's always been a PE teacher, but also has coached softball, which is near and dear to my heart as a dad, and volleyball. Teresa's fondest memory is going to state with the girls volleyball team and golfing with real golf clubs in PE. So Therese, congratulations. What would you like to share?
Oh, it was a little terrifying, that golfing. It was fun. We thought it was going to be great, but real clubs, I don't know what we were thinking. Luckily, nobody got hurt. So I just like to say it's been a pleasure and an honor to be part of educating the children of District 92. Thanks so much for all the opportunities afforded to me.
Thanks, Therese. Is there a YouTube future? I know you're famous with the video from Oak Prairie, so I didn't know if that was going to be a next phase of your career.
No. That was a one-time thing.
One off. Okay. All right. Just wondering. All right. Next up is Jerry Gooding on tonight. I didn't think she was going to be, so I don't think so. Jerry Gooding, obviously, very difficult year for school nurses among a lot of other people, but our longtime school nurse at Walsh School. Jerry has been in District 92 for 23 years, a total of 35 years as a nurse in other places also. I wish Jerry was on here. She owes us all a picture because her favorite memory was teaching hygiene as the character Ima Dirty. I don't know where to go with that, but I really want to see a picture of Jerry playing that character. So thank you, Jerry, for all of your years of service, especially this year. What a tough one to go out as a school nurse. You earned it. Next up, Diane Hicks. And Diane has been with District 92 for 35 years, her entire career. So that's a great run. I've been in Diane's classroom several times this year. She actually has a starfish story that she wanted to share with the board. I'll pass that around later, but I'll read, I don't think she wanted to read this, so I will read this on her behalf. To Dr. Arnold, administrators, and the school board of District 92. I wanted to thank you for allowing me to serve 35 years in D92. I've loved every minute of it. I have taught some board members and administrators children, as well as children of past students. Through all these years of coming to work, it never felt like work. I have a passion and love of teaching. Thank you for being a driving force in much of the decision-making for the district. Also, you have been supportive of the teachers and always looking out for the best interest of the children. I don't know what the next chapter of my life will hold, but I will cherish every day I spent at D92. As Dr. Seuss said, don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened. I'm glad it happened that I got a job in District 92, Diane Hicks, second grade teacher.
Wow.
Congratulations and thank you, Diane. And next up, we have Gilia Manning. Mrs. Manning on? Didn't think she was going to make it. I just want to keep an eye out. Okay. Mrs. Manning has served for 27 years in the district and variety of capacities. And if you have any students who have gone through National Junior Honor Society, which we are very proud of at Oak Prairie, Mrs. Manning is a driving force behind that organization also. We will miss her greatly at Oak Prairie. So thank you, Gilia. Another Oak Prairie teacher, Linda Rachner. Is Mrs. Rachner on? I didn't think she was going to be. Okay. Mrs. Rachner has taught science in the district for 23 years, I believe, all at Oak Prairie. And is always an instrumental force. She was one of the first people I met when I came in new a couple of years ago, pulled me aside and wanted to make sure I had the straight dope on honors and how important it was. And we have certainly, hopefully, stayed true to that as made Mrs. Rachner proud on behalf of our students' needs. So thank you for all those years of service, Linda. Last but not least, Colette Vandermeer. Colette, we actually recognized at the October board meeting, but we thought it was appropriate just to include her. And she is not here tonight, but is looking forward to seeing all of the staff on June 4th at the recognition then. So those are our retirees for 2020-21 year of COVID.
All right. Thank you, everyone. It's a lot of years of service. AFT report.
I was notified by Mr. Jacobson that they do not have a report tonight.
All right. Good. Public comments for this portion of the meeting?
None.
There are no public comments for this portion of the meeting. All right. Administrative reports. Dr. Arnold.
Yep, I'll just highlight and feel free to ask questions wherever you prefer. We are probably the most pressing one is we are following the changes to the mask requirements. Right now, they keep not addressing the school piece of it. So where we're looking to go with that is in meetings like this with teachers to allow not just teachers, staff members in meetings where no students are present to be able to follow the CDC guidelines and remove masks. But right now we do still need to continue to wear masks with students in classrooms, hallways, those kind of settings. Obviously, outdoors are okay. If that changes, we're monitoring it and we'll adjust accordingly. Also, I know we'll talk about this a little bit later, but we have partnered with the Will County Health Department. Vaccinations are coming this Thursday for 12 on up. So we have some families bringing their 12-year-olds as well as some older siblings in who are in that range to Oak Prairie, and it's partially during the day. We also wanted to make it after school in case parents wanted to come with their son or daughter. Just to give the board a heads up, assessment task force is coming next year. That's a big part of our next step for strategic plans. I am looking to, this got paused by COVID, but go back to planning a parent advisory committee. So this summer I'll start reaching out to some parents. This is for the parent advisory committee for the superintendent. And we'll look how we shape that. It's a little bit flexible right now, and I'll keep updating the boards as those plans evolve. I'm looking forward to that. We've provided plans for the strategic priorities for next year. This will be part of the presentation in June. Those have all been vetted by the district leadership team. And we continue our PLC teacher leadership training. We have one more session of that to get ready for next year. And a heads up, I'll let the union know. I know this is something that we're going to have Mrs. McCluskey take the lead on, but an e-learning plan. It gives a school district the ability to, for up to 5 days, replace it with what I'll call a remote learning day, because we're used to that term, instead of a snow day, for example. It's not just for snow days, it's for emergency days. It's a lengthy process. If we start in right now, we could have this ready to go by next fall in time for winter and things like that. So it's something, the big parts of the board we want to know about are that we will have to, which we would anyway, collaborate with the union. We co-create this plan. We don't just do it as an administration. The board would have to approve it after a public hearing. So those things will all happen next fall, September, October, somewhere in those range. But I wanted to bring it up tonight in case the board has any questions about the concept. It's been around in Illinois for several years. The legislature passed it. I'm drawing a blank. I want to say 2018. It could be farther back than that. So, right,
It's
yeah,
right,
I'm
it's right
close.
in there.
So as we go through, the board will have plenty of opportunities to learn more about it and be a part of that conversation too. All right, that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. Assistant Superintendent for Business Services.
All right, thank you. Just a few items to update the board on this evening. First off is the 5-year plan from DLA. So we have received that. I've sent that out to the board as of tonight. So right before the board meeting, that was sent out to the board. And I just wanted to remind at least anybody who's interested, put together a facility committee meeting for next week on the 25th, 7 a.m. Happy to have up to 2 more board members join us. The purpose of that is to truly dig through the 5-year plan and then really, start working on what the summer projects of 22 are going to be. So we have a lot of priority setting that needs to be done, and that's really going to sort of jump off of that 5-year plan that we've got. So just kind of highlighting the 5-year plan that came from DLA. That was a summary of really what's been taking place over the last 10 years. So looking back, but then also looking forward. They went through our mechanical, our electric, some plumbing, and identified our needs through their engineer, Berg Engineering. So within this document, we not only have a great resource of what we've done in the past and things that we've checked off, but we also have a really good blueprint for moving forward. So very excited about that. Budget is still moving forward. I've met with our principals, still have some directors to finish up with. Look to be bringing that preliminary document to the board in June. We're still in the process of interviewing for our bookkeeper position. We're actually in the final stages, and we'll hopefully, had wanted to have a candidate for this evening's board meeting. Didn't quite get there, but looking forward to June, bringing that forward. The only other thing really to point out is just the hourly rate, the minimum wage committee that has met several times. Our most recent meeting was May 5th. And from that, you can see from just my memo, there are some different directions that as a committee we would like to go. Look to those being incorporated into the budget that I present in June. Happy to answer any questions.
Just as we're talking 5-year building plans, do we have any update on 143rd Street in Reed?
We do not.
Okay.
So the last I checked with DOT, there was no update from them. I've checked with Sam Schwartz, who did the study for us. No update there. We're still just sort of waiting. And in fact, they just painted new stripes on the line on the road last week. So I don't, take that for what it is. Nothing at this point, though.
Hey, Dave, do you have any insight into the Lockport, I think they call it the Emerald Triangle plan, their strategic plan? Not that you have to touch on it tonight, but just curious how connected we are to that and what the impact might be.
The only connection that I've got is that I've gone through the Lockport newsletter and updated myself on what the big plan is, but have not gone to any meetings or any more involved than that.
I don't know how, do we have a sense of how real it is? I mean, nice on paper, it looks
Well,
fantastic, but it
you know,
seems like it'd be a big impact.
It really does, because I mean, the footprint going from 355 all the way into town is massive. So their effort to not only build, but to widen the road in some parts. I mean, there are impacts there from housing and just from some commercial building. It could be quite large. So I definitely have been paying attention to it, but I just haven't gone to anything else.
I think it'd be important to keep an eye on that over the next, especially as it hooks into our 5-year plan, some of our strategies. The kids going up. I mean, this plan is really massive. It's going to take quite a bit to pull it off, if they can pull it off at all. But it would be, it'd be a boom for this district. It'd be huge.
And there's two pieces. They did bring us in, someone from the city did bring us in early to kind of show us some of those plans. That was all pre-pandemic, actually. And don't forget that with the high school, we continue to talk about the demographic study. And so that's a question that will be coming back to the board maybe in a month or so. They wanted to see how the census played out. And we've got some information about that for next month that will come from the high school, and whether or not I'm assuming that we still want to be a part of that demographic study as part of the high school to really get at the future enrollment projections.
All right. Director of Student Services.
Good evening. You guys have my board memo there. A couple things went on.
Nurse, we'll get you a little bit closer tonight.
Thank you. Usually I'm too loud. Sorry. You have the board memo there. I have a couple things. On Friday at our institute, our parapros were together as a team. We're kind of aligning the transition that the teachers do with the parapros. So they are meeting with students and teams that they're working on and creating what we're calling student passports. So if you're a parapro with a student this year, what's working with that child will be shared with the next parapro. So we're saving time at the start of the year and makeup. It was fun activity, a little bit of work, but had a good day doing that. Have a couple more topics coming up for them with CPI training and our alignment to SEL. Kristen Grahovic and Erica Barrett were able to present to our parapros what was presented to parents 2 weeks ago. And so they have all those tools and tips ready to go to work with students right away. And then we are working on CPI training this summer. We have a few more staff getting Wilson certified, which will be coming up. And then really most of our time is spent on summer school, which is right around the corner, which will be starting June 14th. Any questions? I'm happy to answer.
I think just Nora, I appreciate you mentioning, these monthly meetings. I think, with the principals and that, I mean, from your perspective, I mean, how do you think those are going? Because I think we just really needed, I think our peers needed some type of voice. And I mean, do they feel comfortable?
I hope so. I think so. We just talked about
Okay.
this. Most of what we did was this past Institute Day on Friday. So historically, peers haven't been at every institute. So that's something we're kind of formalizing or systematizing now. I think there's been a lot of times where they could have been part of the training, but the last thing I want to do is have 80 people sitting in a training if they're never going to use that tool. That doesn't make sense. So now we're kind of isolating it or specializing it. If you're with a child that needs this, you get this training. So the meetings have been quieter than I would have hoped, quite honestly. And we talked about that on Friday, and I said we did kind of a plus delta like we're doing with PLCs. And I said, tell me what worked this year. We were in a crazy year. They had nothing. And then we started talking, and I said, okay, let's talk about what we need. And I shared with them, I said, okay, no one's saying anything. Does anyone think we need more subs in the district? Oh my gosh. I said, okay, so there are things we need to work on. And I think we got about a list of 20 things by the end of the conversation. So it was much better now than it was in the fall. I guess I could say that to put a script on it, but I think it's getting better. I think there's just some trust that it's going to take time to build those relationships.
Okay. So, great.
Yeah.
And this is just your first year,
My first year, yes.
which
On
is,
payroll, my first year.
Yeah.
I've been volunteering for a very long time.
I mean, that's the part that seems, time is just so screwed up, but it really has been your first year.
Well, and
so-
I think some of the parapros I worked with when I was a PFA member, and they're like, well, remember 5 years ago? And I guess that I started this year. Like, we're working very quickly. So I think just having your voice at the table has been effective. And I've said, if you don't bring me a problem, I can't fix it. So they're very, I think they understand. I hope if they're here, they can share that. But I think just understanding what their job looks like. It was so different with COVID and just the tech piece. And they have come on board. They're running Zooms better than I am. Breakout rooms. I did a couple things wrong on Friday, and one of them said, oh, I'll take over. And so kind of a building contact. But I think what happens is we check in with the parapros, and this happened in every district I've been in, but we check in with them in August. Hey, how was it last year? How did this work in 3rd grade? We need to do this in 4th grade. It's not fresh in their head. So we took this time in May, let's document what worked this year. So we already have it in our playbook per se to go start the year. So I think that's going to help. And then the CPI training is our nonviolent intervention program. We used to train every special ed person, every gen ed teacher who had a student, but there's no way of knowing what student's going to have an issue. So we're kind of moving to more of a building-based team for the need. Instead of training everyone lightly, we're going to train specific people deeply, if that makes sense. So that's what we're going to go to going forward. Because I've been trained but haven't used it. In COVID, we didn't have a lot of that. But now that we're back in person, those needs are popping up a little bit more.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
No,
Thanks.
I mean, if there's questions, let me know, but I think we're getting there. It's just going to take time, and we have a few new parapros this year, so getting everyone up to snuff.
Great, thank you.
One thing I do want to highlight that you did, and you mentioned it, and that is during the Institute, we had a lot of vertical articulation. We did want to start looking at students' needs so we could get ready for next year. And Nora really pushed the idea of let's tap into the expertise of our parapros. They work with these students in a very one-on-one or small group kind of setting a lot. And to really tap into that, not many districts do that. That's kind of rare. We always tap into the teacher's expertise, but her push to tap into the parapros expertise, I thought really hit the nail on the head. It shows the value we have for their position, and it also gives us so much better information on student needs. So it was a great
you know,
approach.
Yeah, and we came up with the document kind of together, just talked about strengths, areas of need, and it's in a shared, secured folder. So it all comes to me. And then once that team is determined, it will go to that student's team confidentially going forward for next year. But then I said, if it doesn't work, let's talk about how can we make it better for next year. We all agreed we're better now than we were at the start of the year. And we're just happy to be in person because it makes their job easier. So we'll listen. Yeah, no, and we have a whole list of things, you know, subs was one issue that came up. If they're pulled from their classroom kind of hierarchy, and I could give a bigger report on it, but just, so student A is out, has medical needs. We want to make sure that child is covered, but then if there's not a sub, making sure we're covering with priority and some mindfulness and not just yanking people to cover classes. Everyone's been super flexible this year, but obviously if there's a classroom uncovered, we have to cover classrooms first. And so we're doing the best we can with that. And now I'm starting to get more applications. So hopefully we'll have more subs for next year. I think people are ready to get back to work, which is great.
Thank you.
Sure, no problem.
All right, Director of Curriculum.
All righty. As Dr. Arnold had mentioned earlier, the district's going to be working jointly with the union on planning for our e-learning plan going forward for next year. So that will alleviate our extra days at the end of the year for emergency purposes, snow days and that type of thing. So, usually it's a 3-year plan and we have to do all the legalities with the states. We'll be working on that. On May 14th, we had our district-wide Teacher Institute Day, which was quite successful. Dr. Arnold started out the whole district doing our Crisis Go, which is going to be a new emergency notification system for our entire district. To alert everybody on your devices if there's a tornado or fire, that type of thing. And then we'll be pushing all that out in the fall to the entire district. So that went very well as well. And then as you heard, we had a vertical and horizontal articulation with all of our staff on Friday, which I've received very good feedback from, where teachers got to meet with their grade levels in the grade level above and the grade level below. And since we have the 4 buildings, we were able to go building to building. And it was very positive. When I was in the classroom this week at Reed and was talking to a teacher, and she learned something that 4th grade was looking for from the 3rd graders, and they're already moving on that. So it was very, very good to see that and get a positive result for that. And also teachers are collecting their common assessments that are already in place in the district. And we're just going to start looking at those going forward, as Dr. Arnold had referred to the assessment task force, to see where we're at as a district and look at those assessments, align them to the Illinois priority standards, where our gaps are, and make those adjustments as we go forward. So those are all things we're working as we go forward. And Ms. Gankos and I have been working jointly on our summer school, and that's up and running starting June 14th. And we're excited about that. We have 52 general ed students and about 90 some ESY students. So we're excited about that.
Just
Any
to make
questions?
a connection for the board, you mentioned the assessment information that you're working hard to collect. It's kind of complicated. That was one that supports one of our strategic priorities that we'll report out in June also. So we're kind of excited about that. It's all part of moving the strategic plan forward.
All right. At this time, I need I need a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make it.
I'll second.
Any questions or? All right. Roll call, please.
Middleton?
Yes.
Gurecki? Stopke?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Sweiss?
Yes.
Pergola? Dusterhoff?
Yes. Motion's carried. All right. I need a motion to approve the technology purchases as presented.
Oh, I can ask, but we need a motion.
Yep.
Okay, I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Now, discussion or questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Second.
how I'm reading this is we're going to do this 170 Chromebooks pilot.
Correct.
Okay,
For 6th grade.
for 6th grade. So I know we all have iPads. So after the year of the pilot
Mhm.
and it goes well,
Mhm.
then we're going to probably want to purchase Chromebooks. All right. So what do we do with all of the iPads?
So great question. We're cycling that in, and let me tell you how I think it might go. I've done this before with a 3-year plan for an entire district. What I found after the first year is it went so well that people didn't want to wait for year 3. So in year 2, we ended up bringing on everyone after year 1.
Okay.
So I've already had questions from technology and some teachers asking, actually some of the principals too, what if we don't want to wait? And so I've already talked to Dave, and in next year's budget, because it wouldn't be probably waiting a full year. If we're talking about year 2 of this plan, we would be making those purchases or reaching out to start that process next January.
Right.
As long as we had enough confidence in what we were doing, we felt good about it. So for that to move forward, that's because I've been there before and I know that's exactly what happened. Everybody wanted it, not a 3-year, but a 2-year. We're going to work into the budget for next year to be able to go 2 more grade levels in the following year. But that's not your original question. The original question is, what about all these other iPads? Remember that the reason we brought this up is they're at the end of their life cycle. Right? So we bought just enough to keep it going for all the other grade levels, but we see this, either we're going to make a decision to stick with a different Chromebook and do the purchase I mentioned, or we'll go a different direction. But either way, these iPads are still working their way out of their life cycle. we still have iPads, and I don't see that changing in the next 2 to 3 years for kindergarten through early childhood kindergarten through 5th grade. And then that'll be the next question. Once we know what device we're using at 6th, 7th, and 8th, then you'll start questioning, do we have it right at 5th grade? What about 4th grade? And we'll work back that way.
During I was on the
Oh,
tech
yeah.
task force.
I should let you answer
No,
that
no, no,
one.
it's fine. No, you hit it spot on. I think the biggest feedback, biggest piece of feedback we got was those earlier grade levels, the iPads they're spot on, right? They know how to work them sort of natively, right? They're tactile, that kind of thing. And as you get into that 5th, 6th grade, you start to shift into, keyboards. And I think that's the tough question is where do you make that shift? Is 4th, 5th, 6th makes sense, right? At the Oak Prairie level. So the iPads that we do have that are deployed now in those higher grades, if they're still functioning, they can start to augment at the lower grade levels, right? When you cycle through them. So that was the going in. I mean, and originally it was sort of max across the board. Then the Chromebooks became a little bit more viable. They're certainly cheaper, and Chromebooks are at the high school level, so there's some parity with that. So I think some of the open questions are the technology stack that we have deployed, all the apps and all that kind of stuff. Does that transfer, right? All the investments we've made with Apple TVs and all this other stuff, does that technology still work? So that's part of the pilot, right?
Okay. Yeah, no, and I think it's a great, I mean, I love the pilot of the Chromebook, especially because it's in line with the high school, I just didn't, I was trying to remember when we have had the iPad since, is it 3 years?
3.
It
I
is
wanna
3
say
years?
3 years.
Okay.
And there's some way we
But
can
is-
actually get back from those. We can recycle
Right.
some back,
Right.
and there's some we can
Okay.
recoup some of the cost.
Yeah,
Not too much.
there's a ridiculous aftermarket for those things. Even what I consider at the high school, our crappy beat up Chromebooks that no one would want to use. Companies are always calling us, looking for them to buy them from us.
Oh, wow.
Whether it's 10 or 25 bucks per, they part them out and they use them to repair other ones and stuff. So there is a real aftermarket, not really a use market, right? It doesn't have much use as a device itself, but it's parts,
Gotcha.
sort of like a chop shop,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The old car chop shop. Your Honda was
Absolutely.
worth more as parts than it is as a whole. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
no, I
yeah,
wouldn't have thought that.
yeah. It always surprises me even that's going on.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
The only
No.
thing, and I'm part of the committee, so I'm sure we'll figure this out, but, the success criteria of the pilot, I think we still have to kind of put some parameters.
Correct.
What does it really mean that this works?
Mhm.
Because there was some, not disagreement among the teachers, but, the Chromebooks easily slotted into, I think, a classroom teacher where some of the specials felt it wasn't quite right. So we need to solve for that. But I think those are edge cases.
Part of that process. You're right.
I do have one question. Are the Chromebooks, are you guys planning on sending the Chromebooks back and forth like we did the iPads this year? Is that part of the plan in the fall as well?
Yeah, we're there.
Okay.
This is
Okay.
how we're doing it.
This
The
is-
question I asked recently is, we are still going to finalize whether or not we send them home with students in the summer or not. Districts kind of go both ways on that. It's kind of funny. You think naturally you collect those. From a technology perspective, that's not always necessary and sometimes more problematic. It's just one more thing to do. So we are going to make that decision soon.
Okay.
Before June 4th.
I figured it would have, it's a
Oh.
question.
We are,
For this year.
whether or not we collect them at the end of this
Oh.
year or not.
I was just thinking the Chromebooks for next year, but you're talking about what?
I'm talking devices in
Devices
general. The
today.
question we've been talking about is, do we collect these at the end of this year or not? I thought that was a given, like, yes, we would, but there's some valid reasons why we may not. So we're digging into it.
Good.
But did I answer your question as
Yes,
far as,
you did.
we're going to keep going one-to-one, students take them home.
No, that
Post
they answered my
pandemic.
question. It makes sense.
All right. Sorry, we're on technology.
Those are all good questions.
Yeah. Breakage, with the traveling, have we seen?
I don't have those numbers and
Edit
Greg is
article.
not here, but I have tracked those in prior lives, and I'm not aware of any alarms being rung by that. I think we're in a good spot with that. I'm going to couch that optimism with they weren't going back and forth every single day all year. You know, there were not quite a few days where they were just at home all the time. Maybe that's worse. Maybe being at home is more dangerous for a device. But in a normal year with the wear and tear going back and forth, backpacks and whatnot, we'll continue to watch that.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm used to monitoring.
Okay. All right. Roll call, please.
Sweiss,
Yes.
Perkala, Dapke,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes.
Gurecki, Dusterhoff.
Yes. Motion carries. I need a motion to approve the treasurer's resolution and appointment.
I'll make it.
I'll second.
This is a yearly requirement, so I'm your treasurer if that's what you want.
I don't think anyone else wants the job. By default. Okay.
Pick Dave.
I think that's what it was.
I say yes. Sure, Dave.
Is this where we do this game?
Yeah, All right. Roll call, please.
Washington,
Yes.
Gurecki, Sweiss,
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes.
Dapke.
Yep.
Perkala, Dusterhoff.
Yes, motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I need a motion.
It's an honor.
I need a motion to approve the resolution for the transfer of funds.
I'll make it.
I'll second.
All right, so the transfer of funds, as I mentioned earlier and brought up last month, this is typically a yearly occurrence for us. For the main reason being is construction. And so last summer we had construction. By the time the bills came in, it was past the fiscal date for paying that. So we were looking at a December payment, which was very late for us. And so being cash basis, we have to deal with that real time. There's not the ability to approve that over time. So that's the main reason for it. Like I said, this is a very common practice. We did it last year as well. From a budgeting standpoint, there was room for us from the ed fund, obviously. Wouldn't be doing it otherwise. And I think this just puts us in a good shape for the upcoming work this summer as well.
Okay. Questions?
Here's where I miss Tom. Tom always dug in on this.
I dug in on these transfers. All right.
What's that?
Roll call, please.
Perkala, Sweiss,
Yes.
Dapke.
Yes.
Gurecki, Middleton.
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Dusterhoff.
Yes, motion carries. All right, I need a motion to approve the carryover of vacation days for this business year to next year's business year.
I'll make it.
I'll second.
I'm sorry, who was second?
Me.
During
Thank you.
Dr. Arnold?
Same thing we did last year because of COVID. We hope this is the last time. We expect this is the
Yeah.
last time this would happen.
That's what you said.
Right.
Yeah, we got
We
all.
are finished with COVID at the end of next year. We will be.
Got to get caught up on those days. Okay. Roll call, please.
Dapke.
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Gurecki, Middleton.
Yes.
Perkala, Sweiss,
Yes.
Dusterhoff.
Yes, motion carries. All right. We'll start with our additional item of the discussion about vaccine clinics at Oak Prairie.
Yeah, so thanks for letting me just, bring it up. I loved when I saw the email that we were offering it, and I complimented Mrs. Forecash, and that then I looked at my, emails right before I came here, and I saw this email about students getting vaccinated and getting Six Flags tickets. So just a couple things kind of came to my mind in just reading that. And so I don't want to think too much into it. If you can maybe give me
can.
some insight on how that kind of came to be.
So that it comes from the health department. I think, I don't know who paid for it, if Six Flags donated, but somehow there's 50,000 free passes to Six Flags. I don't know if it's given only to Will County Health Department or other counties' health
Oh,
departments.
Okay.
And so because we have nothing to do with this, we're just hosting and trying to provide students with arms for vaccinations. So the Will County Health Department is giving out those passes to Six Flags. I'm
Okay.
guessing they didn't pay for them. I'm assuming Six Flags
Right.
donated them, but I can't be sure. I don't know.
Yeah. So, okay. I mean, that, that obviously answers my question of kind of where it came to be, but I'm not sure. I'm struggling a little bit with the message that it's sending because I think vaccines, especially for children, it is up to the parent in their immediate household. And I think giving an incentive of a Six Flags ticket as a school district may not be sending a great message. And I mean, maybe I'm looking too much into it, but I'm just kind of thinking a little bit outside the box of a parent that may be against a vaccine, and and then you have the age group of 12 to 15. I mean, who wouldn't want to go to Six Flags? So I just would hate that we as a school district would be causing more issues within homes of, the 12-year-old, saying, I want to go to Six Flags, so
Right.
I'm getting it,
Right.
and, mom and dad saying no. So I don't know. I guess I would like to just suggest if maybe administration could look at this and maybe give a little bit more of an explanation to parents, and maybe I'll be the only one, that is thinking like
No,
this.
it's
But-
fair. And this is a hot topic right now. Just to be clear, the school district is not associated with this at all.
Okay.
If someone were concerned, please do not call me. Please call the Six Flags. And because I believe they were donated to health departments to promote vaccinations. But once again, I'd want to verify that myself. Either that or the Will County Health Department purchased them. But they're doing vaccination sites in schools all across the county. This is not a special thing for D92.
Okay.
So they've had other sites, other vaccinations from the health department, and my understanding is they've done the same.
I mean,
We're
get
not
it,
special.
yeah, I mean, promoting, all of our students to be vaccinated, I get that.
Right.
Because then, coming back in August, we're looking at a different situation, scenario.
We hope, yeah.
Right. But I think, seeing the email that it said, if your student gets vaccinated, they get a Six Flags,
Right.
ticket, maybe just a little bit more of explanation, because I think we only have 52 participants here today, so maybe just.
We
whether
can
it's-
definitely clarify where
Clarify.
it's coming from.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Again,
Well,
maybe
really,
it's
we
just
wouldn't
me.
want, and we wouldn't want any confusion with the public about using taxpayer dollars for D92s buying these tickets or anything like that. We want to separate ourselves from that. So we can send a clarification out tomorrow. Just this is coming from the health department.
Right.
Before that, we can also look into where they came, how the health department got it, and kind of add that to it, where they donated.
Right. Okay.
Sure.
I think people were also wanting to know like the data for the survey that was sent out as
Mhm.
well. I did see that a little bit, not via email, but just kind of from peers and things like that. I didn't see the data. I didn't look for it either. So I'm not saying it wasn't sent out, but people were wanting the data from the
The
survey.
results.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the Purity
Yeah, the
survey.
parent survey that was sent
Okay.
out
Yeah. the-
prior
I
to,
think
Yeah.
I didn't know if
So
that
the
was
health
made
department
public.
asked all districts, they
Mhm.
said, would you be interested? And if so, how many potential students would you have available to have shots so they could schedule? And which is why we sent the survey out. We had 55% parents said, no, thank you. The other 45% were between yes and unsure. And then the next question was, how many children do you have that you would have shots so we can plan for scheduling? That number is 164.
Mhm.
And so we can certainly send that out, that information. We did typically have a habit of providing results from
Mhm.
things like that. This, I wouldn't normally put that out because it wasn't a survey asking everybody's opinion. It had a very narrow
Right.
purpose of, we need to know how many numbers we anticipate for the health department. So I gave those numbers to the health department. That was it. Different than what do you guys think about a certain question or topic where you would normally report.
Which makes sense now that you're saying like siblings and things can come, but I don't think like our community necessarily knew that they could bring siblings if they were not interested. if they-
Well, the survey only went to parents of 12 and up.
Ah,
So
that makes sense as well.
fifth grade on
That
that,
makes
if you don't
sense.
have a 12-year-old, it only
Mhm.
went, because that would have even been more
Right.
confusing to
Right.
send
That makes
that to
sense.
all parents. Well, you're not, then I would have gotten all the calls. You're going to
Right.
give a vaccination to my
Yeah.
kindergartner
That
and
makes sense.
all that
Oh,
kind of
man.
stuff.
Leave my 3-year-old.
So
Yeah.
that
they want to
was,
go to Six Flags too.
yeah. And we didn't even know about the Six Flags
Okay.
thing
I
until
didn't
recently.
know,
I didn't
yeah.
know that was a thing until today.
Mhm.
So yes, that only went to
Okay.
Oak Prairie students.
Thanks.
I'm still going back with the Six Flags. And so I still know, D92, it was not the lead on this, but
We weren't the follow, we had nothing to do
nothing,
with it.
I know, but I guess, I just really worry about, I think that age group is really a tough age group. And I could just see conversation, hey, I got a Six Flags and, Molly, didn't get vaccinated and, and is feeling kind of bummed and left out and all of that. I don't know. Obviously I'm not a fan of giving the Six Flags
Sure.
ticket, but I think just clarification, please.
We can definitely do the clarification.
all
And
right,
We
thank
will do that.
Thank you.
Board policy review.
It's there. We were talking about technology earlier and apps with devices and things like that. SOPA, the policy you're reviewing today, is connected to that big thing called SOPA, SOPPA. And that does take effect July 1st. So we are reviewing the policy. There's no changes. We don't anticipate any changes to the policy, but it seemed very germane to bring that to the board as we put our last steps in place for preparing for that. The reason I say that is we've told the teachers multiple times, and this will be an issue, I would predict from what I'm seeing so far. People's favorite apps, favorite websites must, after July 1st, be SOPA compliant. And there are companies who aren't doing what they need to do, and no school district has the ability to make that happen. It's on the company. So there are some companies that are resisting it. There are more companies that are not. But what we keep telling the teachers is that we won't know until after July 1st who's signed on and who hasn't as far as these companies. So be aware that we've got a running list, and check that list in June, see if your favorite app's there. If it's not, we want our teachers to have plenty of time to find something different that is SOPA compliant after July 1st. We sure don't want to have teachers show up in August and be surprised that the thing they're planning on as a resource is not available. So that has nothing to do with the policy. It's a practical implication. We're moving forward.
Probably important to understand too that SOAP compliance isn't a one-time thing, it's continual. So as they update and make changes to their platforms, they're going to need to maintain that compliance level, and they may fall out of compliance, which may put us in a position where we have to pull back on an app we're using.
Sure, we hope not,
because
you're
there's
right.
A lot of complaints.
Right.
So there'll be a lot of pressure, we're not spending any money on it, or it's small dollars on that app. The incentive for the organization isn't necessarily there to maintain that kind of compliance. It's expensive.
Yeah.
That's just something we're gonna have to monitor ongoing.
And there are systems in place to monitor that. We are part of a consortium. Instead of every individual district in Illinois trying to do this, there's a consortium that does that, and we will be a part of that so that they can do that monitoring for us. We don't want to use our staff's time to monitor something that it only takes one person to monitor, not every district. It'll be interesting.
Yes. Right. Employee handbook changes.
They're presented in red line version. I don't think there's anything too outstanding in there, and they'll be brought back unless there's board questions or comments, brought back for board approval in June.
And that was done in conjunction with employee groups?
Every employee group except for teachers, because they have a teachers union, every employee group was invited to be a part of that. The only employee group that did not take us up on that was custodians and maintenance. And they've expressed interest like, gosh, maybe we'd like to next year. So they said, okay, every year we're just going to ask who wants to do it. And you just got to say yes and then come to the meetings. So it's a very open, very transparent process. Parapros, administrative assistants, ESP staff are all on there. But every single non-teacher staff member was invited to be a part of it.
IASB resolutions.
I don't think the board typically has any, but there is a board conference this year.
Mhm.
So what we do is if you have any recommendations for resolutions or things like that, Jim Gorecki has historically been our person, but I think the board discusses that each year as well. But this is just a reminder to be thinking about that. You may have or should have received something from the School Board Association about that. So,
You guys got it right?
Mhm.
Good.
so this is board discussion if there's any, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's hard to explain even the resolutions. They're the delegates, so we'll send a delegate to a meeting during that conference and they'll discuss things and vote on it. And then the IASB takes it to legislators and those sorts of things. So every year in September or October, we'll see those resolutions that people are now building, and then we'll get them and we'll talk to Jim and we'll make a decision as a board on our position on that resolution, and then he goes and votes. So it's very democratic kind of way of doing it. But like I said, then IASB has a platform when they talk to legislators. District committees and board membership.
So typically in May, we start getting ready for committees for next year. So in the board book, you see the committee list. I've removed all, what we do each year is we remove anyone who hasn't already indicated staff-wise a desire to continue. We remove everybody and give everybody a chance to sign up again for the new committees, board members included. So if you're on a committee this year as a board member, your name's been removed. And then at the June board meeting, we'll go through and ask for any volunteers for any board committees. Just keeping in mind that we can't have more than 2 board members on any. But they're there. There's the format's pretty clear there. It gives you a little bit of an understanding of what the committee does, about how much of a commitment it is. We do try to, now that we're going into year 3, these are kind of set. Like before, it was always this, what is this committee? How much will they meet? Some committees, some years, depending on the work, may meet more frequently. Other years, they may meet once or twice. It just depends on what's there. So I have gone through and tried to accurately capture what I see the workload for each committee being next year.
If I could just interject, I think it's a great opportunity for all of us board members, but also with new board members. I think it really gives you just another kind of more intense insight, depending on what the committee is, and getting to know staff or administrators or that on a different level. So
yeah, and none of us are significantly tied to any of the committees. There's room for people to come on board. So if there's something that you see that you're interested in, please don't be shy about sort of any weird hierarchy. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, or I think passionate about,
Yeah.
or that, or, you have concerns and you really would like to see maybe a discussion on change, and that I think, I would suggest you to join.
Plenty of room.
And it is truly an invitation. It's not a have to. We'd love to
Yeah.
have 2 board members on every committee. These are all district committees, not building level committees or school level committees. But if we only get one, we only get one. It's okay. But that'll be in June.
Okay, thank you. And finally, e-learning plan for 21-22.
Just as a discussion, I mentioned it earlier in my report, any initial questions about it, the process, what it is, and this will be an ongoing discussion.
So I remember bringing this up very early on in my tenure, right? We were trying to think through this. And so I'm glad to see it happen.
Closer to his
The
mic.
bummer that, the
You gotta,
pandemic
can you
sort
pull
of
your mic?
forced it, right? Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you now.
Sorry, sorry that the pandemic sort of forced the issue, but I'm glad we got it, right? I do remember too, though, through, I think it was this last winter, obviously we were doing remote, so we had the option to do that, but we still called a snow day or two.
Yep.
Almost as a sort of a mental break. So, that was my only question is, is it sort of, okay, we have e-learning, so there are no more snow days, or do we still want to maintain that flexibility to give the kids the break when they deserve it or need it or whatever?
I was thinking about that when I did that last winter. I wanted to show that model that we do have that flexibility. We can do whatever we want. An e-learning plan gives us legal permission to hold a day of learning instead of just being at home doing a snow day and building snowmen, or whatever the reason is. There's an emergency day. You could have an emergency day because, I don't even want to think of other examples, but we don't, just because we have an e-learning plan doesn't tie our hands. That's part of the agreement. We'd want to work with the board and the union. What do we want to look at when it's a snow day? I mean, the thing that comes to mind is years ago, remember we had it's the Arctic blast. I'm drawing a blank.
2 or 3
Yeah,
days.
you had
or-
several days in a
Really
row
cold.
where you
Yeah.
were not leaving the house. Those are days you're not going to go out and build a snowman. Why not continue the learning kind of stuff? Whereas I don't know where we go with that decision. I have my ideas, but that's something we'll work jointly with the board and with the teachers and listen to parents. But it is designed for, yes, if we had 3 of those frigid days, it's 30 below zero and you can't go out. This is a way to continue learning for those and not tack them on at the end of the year. There's a max of 5. It's basically the 5 emergency days we put in the calendar every year. This would alleviate that. Some people have very strong opinions about snow days as far as not running away from those. This year was an anomaly because there were several reasons why we made that decision there. But that'll be what we talk about in part of the discussion.
It might help us smooth over an issue where was a building specific, right? So there's a flood at Walsh or something. So only that building is impacted. So they can stay home, they can learn. They don't have to, now we're not sort of off on our schedule.
Exactly. All the pipes burst to the building. I mean, things like that have happened and you can't go, but why shut down?
All right, there's no old business. Any other new business? Okay. Information items are in the board packet as well as communications. All right, at this time, I need a motion to go into closed session. Do I have it?
I'll make it.
Oh, sorry.
Second. Oh, I got it.
I need to read the reasons why we're going into closed session. Do you know the numbers?
It's in the board book.
I don't have it open.
I mean, get it? I got it.
Okay.
Numbers,
Yeah,
like the 5 IL.
Yeah, that memo, not,
Yeah, 5IL
Yeah, I'm looking,
Yeah, subsection 2
122.
into 11.
2 and 11.
2 and 11.
Yeah, it makes sense. Okay. The board is going to enter into closed session to talk about collective negotiating matters between the school board and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for more or one classes of employees. And for the reason of litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of the school board has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the school board finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which case the basis for the finding shall be recorded and entered into the minutes of the closed meeting. Do I have a motion to go into closed session?
I'll make it.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Gurecki, Washington,
Yes.
Percola, Weiss,
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes.
Trapke.
Yes.
And Duster.
Yes. All right, we are in closed session and we will return to this Zoom link when we are done.
Any other action, just close the.
Sorry, yeah, no, there's
the
no,
minutes?
yeah, there will be no, we'll approve
Do we have to?
the minutes of closed session when we return. And other than that, there won't be any action after this portion of the meeting. Okay. All right, we are back in open session at 8:45 on May 18th. I need a motion to approve the minutes of closed session as read in closed session.
I'll make it.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Roll call, Melissa Stuckey,
Yes.
Matt Dusterhoff,
Yes.
Jim Gurecki, Adriana Washington, yes. Jake Middleton,
Yes.
Doreen Weiss.
Yes.
Grant Ferkaluk.
All right. Motion carries. I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make it.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. All right.